Yo, what is up? We're back with another video, reaction video. So this is just some fresh guys. Probably the first reaction on this on YouTube. Views from it. Hope I get some subs. So what do we got? This is 20 minutes ago. It's so new that this is really the only video that's up on this topic right now. Not sure if this is something here. Have a look at this video. Possibly the conflict is now over.
It's the start of a big week of peace talks aiming to end the war in Ukraine. American officials say they believe Kyiv is ready to move forward in a ceasefire process with Russia ahead of talks in Saudi Arabia. President Zelensky will also travel there, although he won't be taking part in negotiations. Officials from Ukraine and the US will meet for the first time since the clash between their two leaders last week. All this comes as the Ukrainian military said that Russia launched 176 drones
I'm having some trouble with this video.
during an overnight attack. Our correspondent Thomas McGill reports.
A weekend of deadly attacks by an unrelenting Russia. This is the Donetsk region in the east, where 11 people were killed and 40 wounded, including.
I've been watching this stuff. It's kind of crazy. There's been a lot of escalation around attacks, and look at this: 176 drone attacks in overnight. At- This means just one night in Ukraine. Can you imagine like being someone like in your house, just kind of trying to sleep, or maybe you're having a bad day, maybe you have a little paranoia. Wow, dude.
6 children, according to Ukrainian officials. Attacks like this have intensified across the country in recent days, this one in Odessa in the south, after the US paused military aid, intelligence sharing and now some satellite imagery. Despite this, the US is determined to forge ahead with talks in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday and says they believe Ukraine's leader is ready to move forward with its demand for a ceasefire.
I mean, he's like, despite this, the U.S. is determined for. I mean, look, I'm not a fan. I'm not a Trumper. I'm not a right wing guy, although some people say I am. But that sounds like the best solution right now to talk about it and stop it, right? I don't know. Russia's probably gonna say they want the territorial gains that they have from the conflict. That's I'm not gonna say whether it's fair or not, but it's expected at the very least, right? So that's obviously a big price to pay, but look at all this, man. The thing is, civilians are suffering with all this crap going on. So I get it. Nobody wants to talk to Putin, but if it's going to stop this stuff from happening, the civilians will actually benefit from that the most.
President Zelensky.
One more thing, right? Let me tell you, what is the most corrupt country in Europe? One of, at least, Ukraine, right? Government corruption is pretty bad. And I'm talking about lists before this conflict. Ukraine has long been known as one of the most corrupt countries in Europe. So let me ask you, these people are dying from attacks from Russia. Are these same people going to be benefiting from those minerals? I don't think so, man. I grew up in a corrupt country, and any kind of government initiative around natural minerals and resources, if it even trickles down to the people, it's very little. So I would assume, because Ukraine is also a corrupt country, it will probably be the same situation. So who cares about those minerals and 20% of the land? At the end of the day, that's not gonna go to the people anyway, right? And if it's gonna stop the drone attacks, just do it.
Zelensky will not attend the talks personally, but will meet the Saudi leader Mohammed bin Salman today. Senior US officials, led by the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, will then meet a delegate from Ukraine on Tuesday to discuss the terms of a potential truce.
I'm confident that the meeting will be productive. We in Ukraine are committed to this. We are very much so.
I mean, is there any other like more useless role to be a president, not in the negotiating table for your country? Um, do everything you can. I mean, you've pretty much agreed to just stop fighting, right? And and pre-agreed to a deal. So obviously they can agree to something and they can just go back on it. Look at what's happening in the Middle East. They do a ceasefire and they just continue the the violence, right? So
We will do our best to ensure that Ukrainian interests are taken into account in the right way.
Ahead of the talks and speaking on Fox News, President Trump described the war as a mess.
Are you comfortable with that? The fact that you walked away and Ukraine may not survive?
Well, it may not survive anyway, but, we have some weaknesses with Russia. It takes two. Look, it was not going to happen, that war, and it happened. So now we're stuck with this mess.
what does he mean exactly? We have some weaknesses with Russia. That's kind of a concerning statement.
But just a few hours ago, he suggested the US is easing its pause on sharing military intelligence.
We want to do anything we can to get Ukraine to be serious about getting something done.
You haven't been alone. We gave you
The relationship between America and Ukraine remains fragile after a heated exchange in the White House earlier this month. And Europe has also come under fire from President Trump, who wants it to step up and spend more on defence. The UK has already committed to increasing its spending on defence and said it's willing to put troops on the ground in Ukraine. But what's not clear is how many other European countries could join a so-called coalition of the willing. The US knows Ukraine is coming to these latest talks on the back foot, and if progress towards peace is to be made, then compromise will also be needed. Thomas McGill, BBC News.
We can get more analysis on those talks. We can speak to Senior Fellow in the War Studies Department at King's College London, Nawaf Obaid. Thank you for joining us on BBC News. So give us a sense of Saudi Arabia's position in all
I love the delay moments because it's just like so awkward.
of this, because it's been able to maintain close ties with Russia, Ukraine, and the United States. How has it managed that?
Well, because it's really positioned itself over the last decade to nurture and to be able to position itself as, if you want, a global interlocutor. It's had a superb relationship with the Trump administration, the first one. It has been able to
Interlocutor? Making words up, man. Interlocutor. Be a Spanish word. Look, mess around right now.
co-manage the global energy markets for the last decade or so through the OPEC plus mechanism with the Russian president, and as well as it's been able to be the center and the source of numerous prisoner releases between the Ukrainians and the Russians. So in a way, if you look deeper into it, you see Saudi Arabia is one of the very few countries that has a global consequence that is consequential enough to be able to be doing what it's doing today.
And during this war, it's provided Ukraine with millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in humanitarian aid. At the same
Correct.
time, it's continued an economic partnership
At the same time, they murdered an American citizen, Jamal Khashoggi.
with Russia. How would you compare the two? And would Saudi Arabia still be considered neutral in this conflict?
Well, the economic partnership with Russia, it's been more of an energy management of the global energy market. So, as I was earlier saying, through the OPEC plus mechanism, the two largest oil exporters, be it Saudi Arabia and Russia, were able to manage it and to make sure that there was no disruption in economic global disruption due to the war between the Russians and Ukrainians. And on the other side, as you correctly pointed out, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has been key in providing a lot of humanitarian aid to the Ukrainians. So it's not one versus the other. They're relatively neutral, and at the same time, in the person of the Crown Prince, he's been able to have an enormous amount of credibility, trust, and above all, influence to be able to bring all the warring parties to Saudi Arabia to hopefully end this war.
Nawaf Obaid from King's College London, thank you for sharing your analysis with us here on BBC News.
Yep. So it looks like they're willing to finally put an end to this thing. I'm not sure exactly how this was done. It's probably like I don't know, a diplomatic communication. Like I said, I'm very early on this story, reacting to it, and this is like the only story I've found so far. This one, 54 minutes ago, might be something. Trump scores another huge diplomatic victory with Europe. Sky News. Let's see what they say.
Josh, we've spoken previously about Donald Trump's strategy with the Ukraine-Russia war and the goal of having Europe contribute in a much more meaningful way to their own defence. And it looks like Trump has again managed to get the outcome he wanted, despite all the hysteria, all the doomsday commentary we've had from politicians.
Crikey. Crikey indeed. I'm just trying to full screen, man. I'm just trying to full screen. Relax, browser.
And commentators, including, I've got to say, disappointingly, some conservative commentators who should know better. Stop getting hysterical about the rhetoric. Look at the bigger picture, look at the strategy, look at the outcomes. Let's hear now from the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
Europe is ready to assume its responsibilities. Rearm Europe could mobilize close to 800 billion euros of defense expenditures for a safe and resilient Europe.
Josh, did the president get his way again? He's been wanting this, and really it should have been in place all along. Europe shouldn't be depending on America to defend it from Russia or any other aggressive force.
Yeah, it strikes me as another huge diplomatic, geopolitical, foreign affairs victory for the president. You know, this very much builds, Rita, by the way, on what he accomplished the first time around. So the first time around, you know, Donald Trump also ruffled a lot of feathers when it comes to NATO. People tend to forget this, but he basically came in there and he said in a series of speeches and pronouncements, you know, you guys are not pulling your weight there. You know, the NATO treaty obligates you to spend at least 2%, ideally 5% of your gross domestic product on defense spending, on military spending there. And if you look back over his first term from 2017 to 2021, the total number of European countries that actually met that bare minimum 2% threshold roughly doubled. It was an astronomical increase there. So he's done this before, and he's doing it yet again there. But look, Donald Trump is a national.
So they're not talking about this. Like I said, there's really this BBC video. I was checking the BBC website. Look, it's not even here. I bet if I refresh the website, it's going to show up. Apparently not. Oh, this might be it. I mean, gosh, I'm not sure if this is. I mean, this is happening, right? It has to be. Um, I really want this conflict to end. That's kind of my side of it. And if this is gonna end for now, for a little bit, then good, you know. Um, gosh, what is this stuff? I mean, that's pretty much all we got for now in terms of a reference for this video. In the search a bit. Yeah, so that's really all it is. Let's see. So it's really just a meeting in Saudi Arabia between the U.S. and Russia, which could result in a ceasefire. I believe what's being said here is that Ukraine agreed to it or pre-agreed with the United States. So that's what they'll be discussing. And look, at the end of the day, if the United States um, just stops with the um, support intelligence sharing, as we've seen, the United States pulled out intelligence sharing, I believe, over the weekend. So, which resulted in a lot of these attacks. It looked like, and I think even the Ukrainian government, uh, confirmed that maybe some of their defense systems are down. They're not able to track incoming drones. So yeah, it's a really complicated situation. And at the end of so what does that mean? What am I saying is that the U.S. could go to Saudi Arabia, talk to Russia, which will be the first time they've had a meeting in years, right? Um, and they could just say, look, yeah, there's a ceasefire. Means the U.S. will not support Ukraine any further at all, which will mean it's over. Okay. Honestly, I don't think that France, UK, Germany, even if you say every European country is 100% on board with it, that's not going to be enough to deter or to stop. Um, just can't support um, Ukraine the same way that we are now with the United States, I believe, right? So, um, in a way, it's not really up to Ukraine. I mean, they could decide to continue fighting if the U.S. says, okay, we'll have that ceasefire. We're going to stop intelligence sharing. We're going to stop weapons and all other forms of support for Ukraine, and we're going to pressure our allies to do the same. Then Ukraine will be, man, it will disappear essentially, right? So we don't want that to happen. At the end of the day, I think what Vladimir Zelensky said is, look, Trump, whatever you can speak on my behalf, whatever you guys need, it's a yes on our part. And that's probably why the meeting's going ahead. But yeah, look, that's it for this story right now. Thank you for watching. We'll keep this one short. Please subscribe if there's anything more on this video. If there's, a long-term ceasefire, I'll definitely post a reaction on that. So yeah, thanks so much, people. Hope you're doing great. Peace.